welcome back to a freshly squeezed episode of the Flowscape podcast. Fella, I fucked up. We might as well just get into it. We've already recorded 7 minutes of this thing, and there was a setting clicked on the audio, and it was really fucking with me, and I didn't realize it was clicked, and we had to start over.
This is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, we were 7 minutes in. It was my fault. Head was down, Johnny, and I got a funny feeling because something sounded really off, and I looked over, and of course, I didn't need that clicked, and it was on. So that's my bad.
All my frustration of slow golfers is now at you.
Yeah, your 87 because of the slow golfers today is now directed directly at me. I am your Patrick Cantlay.
Yes, you are.
But yeah, so if you were wondering, Spencer shot an 87.
He was played some golf today. It was hot. It was nice, but I'm blaming slow play.
I will blame slow play with you. I think slow play is something that you can always blame. You can always blame slow play. I mean,
I understand if
the
it's
number
busy.
One excuse.
Like, I understand if it's busy and playing slow. I get that. But when I can come around a corner and I can see that there's 2 open holes in front of the group, 4 groups in front of me, I'm gonna lose my shit.
And this doesn't happen often, but every once in a while, you will be behind a group where there's 1 or 2 guys in the group that you want to just go up to them and say, "Why are you on a real golf course? You have not been in the fairway one time. You have 12 stroked every fucking hole so far. Why would you waste our time? Why would you waste your time? Slow golf is the number one excuse. And I talked about I had a nice clean 86. My dad and I played Texas Rangers today, which is a really nice course. They have the Corn Ferry there. So it was my first round after my 78. So I was like, okay, I've got to play like a good course and one that's going to challenge me. And I did well. So I think that's just a sign of I am actually getting better at golf, which is fun. Because shooting an 86 at a good course it's fun. It's
pleasing when you know you've played decent. You're like, okay, it's putting, it's chipping that is the difference between an 80 and an 86. So you can feel good about a good 86 if you're clean off the tee and clean on the ball.
I doubled hole 1 because it's been raining here for 2 weeks and I haven't played since the 78. So that I was like, whatever. So you par that, and then I literally parred the first 2 holes on the back 9 and then bogeyed the rest. So you mix in 1 or 2 more pars and it's almost, I'm almost working right back down there with an 81.
I want to hear no complaints about rain. I am in 1 week of sunshine. Yeah. You cannot complain about the rain. This is my second round of the year. So I got to play in a tournament Friday. So hopefully I can find out a short game before that.
Is it a best ball or scramble?
Best 2-man best ball.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
we got a good partner.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably gonna have to sandbag a little bit because there's some scratches in the tournament, so we'll see how it plays out.
What's your handicap at right now?
Right now, it's probably closer to 15, 16. But I mean, I can play down. I can play down to like a 12 if I need to.
Yeah, easy. You could play down to a 10 if you needed to. But what are they going to give you? 80%? So you'll get like 6 and 6 probably.
Probably.
You can work with 6.
Yeah, and it's a course I know.
If you get 6 and 6, come on. If you get 6 and 6,
so we'll see.
You should be able to work with that. No, it was a good day on the course. So let's get into this. We were in the middle of it when I realized the fucking audio settings were fucked. But Connor Bedard, he did end up going to Chicago, and I wanted to clarify.
Or will be going to Chicago.
Will be going to Chicago.
He has not signed on the dotted line yet.
Chicago won the number 1 pick in the draft lottery. I want to clarify what I said last episode. I said it wouldn't be good, and this is what I meant. Him going to Chicago is obviously good for the NHL, and it's good for the game because it's an original 6 team. It's a high media, high frenzied, high populated area. And I even said last episode that him skating around in a Blackhawks uniform would look sick.
Yeah,
Like it's just
no, it would.
it's just got that vibe. What I meant by not being good is I don't necessarily think it's good for Connor Bedard's career at this moment in time, having to go in and really be the face of a franchise along with Caleb and Seth Jones. But out of those three, he's going to take the brunt of a lot of that media because he's Connor Bedard and because of the storylines behind him. That's what I meant. I don't know if that is necessarily the best thing for him in his career.
I think you're selling guys short if they have to step into a team where they have to be the guy right away. This isn't it's a fast league, but it's still not a young man's game where they still have to learn to play. They still have to learn to get the puck out. He's got to learn two-way hockey. He's not going to go coast to coast in the NHL. It's just not going to happen. So if he's got nobody to play with, we're still going to see Chicago 3-4 years out of the playoffs. So even if they're selling millions of dollars in season tickets, we're not going to see him playing with anybody.
The only thing that actually could change that take is if they are able, which they should be now, to attract a lot more.
They have to get some big name
free agents.
They have to.
And I think there are guys, younger guys in the league that aren't expiring contracts or that are coming up, that are good, would want to play with a guy like Bedard.
Would you bet your career on that? But he's got to still play a year or two. So even then, you're still talking of a year or two of Chicago being the Chicago the NHL wants them to be in. I mean, they're not going to be the Madhouse on Madison in Game 32 of the season. It's just not going to happen. It's in the playoffs when he's finally doing something, and he's not going to be doing something in the playoffs for a few years to come.
Yeah, no. I mean, yeah, that's that. Yeah, I mean, that's. I don't think they're going to be in the playoffs for a few years. Their only hope is to get some free agents and really make a run. But that's doesn't look like that's going to happen. Are you chewing on something?
No, I got WWE happening with two dogs next to me.
What I also meant was it would just be fun for him. It would have been fun for him to go to Anaheim and play with Zegras and skate around with Troy Terry and Mason McTavish and have that. It's just a little fun lineup. You know what I mean? And just kicking it in SoCal. I mean, who wouldn't want to fucking do that? You know what I mean?
It just would have been, it would have been better. He wouldn't have had as high expectations on him in Anaheim and with who he would be playing with there. So I think it just would have been better for his career in the short term. Long term, yeah, maybe it's better for him in Chicago, but I don't know. He's gonna. The NHL is going to be all over him in the first season if he doesn't score 100 points. And I don't think he's going to score 100 points with the roster they have or with a roster they can create with the cap. So, I don't know.
Yeah, and Anaheim's really sad because they missed out on Crosby and got the second pick and ended up with Bobby Ryan, who was a really, really, really good player.
Okay, but let's talk about, because I was just thinking about this too. Are they that sad this time around? Because they're probably getting Fantilli or whatever his name is now.
No, they're 100% going to take Fantilli, which on the flip side of that
is a great pickup for them.
Imagine Zegras, Fantilli,
that's what I'm
McTavish,
saying.
And Troy Terry. Yeah, and I know.
So, I mean, I think Anaheim's still in a really good spot, and I don't think people are talking about that enough. That I think that's probably a better fit for their roster than Bedard is. But
yeah, it
was a better fit to go there.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Now that you really put that into perspective for me, I didn't think about that. Bedard going to Chicago minus the roster does make a whole lot of sense. Looks really, really good. Adam Fantilli skating around with Trevor Zegras looks really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's good points. What doesn't look good is the for sale sign in front of Kyle Dubas and Sheldon Keefe's house. Pack your fucking shit.
Yeah,
you are gone.
They're gone. You have got to clean house and get a goalie.
Yeah. I mean, and here's some really other glaring issues. Here's some really other glaring issues and some things they're going to have to figure out and work out. Ryan O'Reilly's a UFA, obviously. Did you want to rent him or do you want to keep him? Because he's going to want. He's at the stage of his career where he's like Pat Maroon. And he'll bounce around to try to win that cup.
I mean, he's got
really
a cup.
Think he wants one more.
Where's he? He's
I really
from
think
the
he wants
area,
one more.
Isn't he? You don't think he'll take a hometown discount to stick
I
around?
if if they bring in a guy he trusts and they bring in a GM he trusts and they do a couple of things. And one of them is get the fuck rid of Justin Hull. He is a waste of space.
Yeah.
He is useless. He is terrible.
Pizzas.
Pizzas, and he's soft as shit. He doesn't fight anybody. He doesn't fucking hit anybody. He's a I'm just calling him out. He's a fake hitter. He's one of those guys that skates up to somebody and he's like, I'm a big buddy, and I'm like hitting you, but I'm really not hitting you because I'm a pussy.
Yeah. Just leaning on him.
Like just leaning on guys and making it look like he's actually hitting them a lot harder than he is, when really he's just making a lot of noise with his body. So that's Luke Shen is just slow footed.
Yeah.
I think you just have to call that what it is.
Yeah, he's probably on his way out. I think they have
way.
the roster. The roster's fine as it is. Like the core of it, they need to retool it some ways. I think they need to find a way to keep O'Reilly because I think that's the right guy to have in the room. But I think they need a better coach. I think they need a new GM, and I think they need a better goalie. And it'll be interesting to see what Shanny does.
Yeah, I think you do need to keep O'Reilly. I think you build around obviously Matthews, Marner, Tavares, and Nylander. Nylander is not the problem.
He's really not. He does, and I don't understand why he catches so much heat.
Yeah, I don't get that either. Those people are fucking idiots. He's not the problem, and obviously Morgan Riley. I think you build around those guys. Now, one of the glaring issues with that core is a same issue Dallas is seeing with Robertson right now against Seattle is Tavares and Matthews had 0 goals that entire second round.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Now, is that the coaching? Is that the system? Is that them not playing for Keefe? Is that them over the current? You know,
I put that on coaching.
Where does that stem from?
I put that on coaching and system. That we've talked about this for years. He doesn't make the adjustments they need to make to get out of the first round, and they didn't make it out of the second. They were barely in the second round. So I think he's at the very, very least he's got to go. But I think Dubas has got to go too.
2 more things. I think Achari is just not Achari anymore. He doesn't do what he used to do. He's not a presence anymore. I think you send him on his way. And here's a hot take, but it's coming from somebody who sees a lot of himself in this player. Is Michael Bunting cannot stay out of his own fucking way.
No, he can't.
He gets so worked up over every little thing, and I'm allowed to say that because I fucking get worked up over every little thing on the
Can
ice.
confirm.
Michael Bunting is a very similar player to me, actually. When you actually break down the way he plays the game, even with the hit on what's his name. I mean, I there's lines that I've crossed, and I will cross again when I go back to Israel this summer. I mean, that's
just who you are.
It's just who I am. If I had $1 for every my fucking coach in Israel last year, legend. One game, I come back from suspension, and we're going out to the ice, and he grabs me and he goes, "Stinch." I go, "What's up, Goose?" And he goes, "You going to play a whole game today?"
Did you answer probably not?
I was like, "Hey man, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do my best." He's like, "You good when you score?" I was like, "Yeah, I know." Which is the same for Bunting. When he's creating offense, he's really, really good. But when he's skating around trying to be an asshole and he's letting every little thing get in his head, and here's like I said, if I had $1 for every time one of my teammates was like, "Stinch, calm the fuck down." It is 4 minutes into the first period. Like, fucking relax. He's the same way. So that is a situation that they're going to have to analyze with him. Are they going to want to work with him and kind of keep him on lead him down a different path as far as mental stability within the game? Or is that somebody that they're going to want to look to move on from? Because they could get assets for him.
Speaking of openings, I'm throwing you a curveball off our outline, but we got to talk Flyers and their hirings.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Flyers hired Keith Jones as their president of hockey operations and officially named Daniel Briere their general manager.
It.
And the only thing I like it too. The only thing I said is Daniel Briere needs to send a family group chat text that says keep all hands and feet away from wheelchairs during this ride.
Okay, and we shouldn't justify any of it, but you know damn well if we were drunk in a bar and there was a wheelchair at the top of a staircase, you'd at least ponder what it would look like for that wheelchair to go down the stairs.
Here's the thing. The wheelchair would have gone down the stairs, but one of us would have been in said wheelchair.
Well, yeah, that's why we have
which
Panda.
Which kind of to me makes it a whole different story, right? If Daniel Briere's kid would have, I don't want to touch on this too much.
It's not a good topic.
It's so dumb. But if he gets in the wheelchair and he's like, "Ooh, look at me, I'm doing a wheelie," and then goes down the stairs with it, that's a completely different story. But when you look at the wheelchair up and down like it's some broad you want to take home, and then you kick the wheelchair down the stairs and then walk away in a very pompous way.
Yeah, and it was like somebody's personal,
the
like if it's somebody's personal wheelchair versus like some wheelchair just kind of like sitting there for shits and giggles. But we can move on from that and talk about the actual hirings that I do enjoy. And I think, do you think they move on from Torts? Because I think that's a weird fit with Briere and Torts.
I texted the group chat. I think Keith Jones cans Torts by Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I think he gives him training camp, and I think he's going to see very quickly that I don't think that's.
Do you think they move any big names either, or in addition to that?
Who wants to be moved? Does Kevin Hayes want to go?
I think he does if Torts is around, but I think if Torts is gone, I think that's a different Kevin Hayes, and I think he would enjoy playing under Jonesy and Briere.
I actually, now that I think about it, would not be surprised if Keith Jones canned him.
Yeah, he's just not he's not the coach anymore. I'm tired of him being on this coaching carousel, of the tired of this shit that he needs to go and change cultures to a winning culture, yell at everybody, make them do, crawl from goal line to goal line, and that he's the right person for the job. He's too old school.
No, I love Torts. Don't get me wrong. I love Torts. I'm
over him.
Because he's the kind of coach that I, in my younger days, would have wanted to play for, but now being 31 and still playing with some guys that still play at a very high level, I don't like that kind of coach. Right? Like that's why, granted, we didn't have much of coaching in the Israeli league, but the coach we did have was just more of like he knows the game. He's a legend of the game in Israel, but he just kind of sits back and he just kind of lets us do our own thing, almost to the point of it's like, Goose, like, call a line, like, do, like, you know what I mean? Like you can even be more involved, but it was just like, he let us be us, but he would also do things like I told you, that comment to me, right? Him saying, Stinch, like, are you going to play whole game today? That was his way of saying, we need you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's not going to like pull me aside and say, don't be you. He's not going to pull me aside and yell at me, right? Because deep down, he doesn't really know me. He only knows me for the summer. But him saying that in a joking way, when I walked on the ice, I was like, okay, that was his way of being like, we need you to play the whole game.
Yeah.
Like, don't think about playing. Like, you can be you, but there's a line. Don't go over it, at least for tonight.
Yeah.
So, Florida and Carolina.
Who had that one on their bingo card?
Listen. Speaking of statements, last episode I gave a couple statements. I have one more statement, and it's for both Carolina and New Jersey. And I stole this from Happy Gilmore, and it is: I'm stupid, you're smart, I was wrong, you were right, you're the best, I'm the worst, you're very good looking, I'm not attractive.
I did say that it was a bad matchup for New Jersey. That if anybody was going to take them down, the speed of Carolina in non-physical series was a bad matchup for New Jersey.
Fuck you, Genoa. Your team fucked me. I fucking let you get in my head, and I took them. Fuck you. They sucked so much penis.
I think they did what they were supposed to do, and I still think they slightly underachieved, but they're not going anywhere.
Florida and Carolina is a really fun, fast series, and it's going to come down to, can Carolina crack the wall that is Bobrovsky?
Yeah.
I mean, Bobrovsky has imported some of the finest Russian gas that I think he could get his hands on, because he is playing finally, like we said a couple episodes ago, like the $10 million man he is. If Carolina can somehow find a way to get through that, we've got a ball game.
I don't think they have
But
the
when
players to do it. I think you have to get in his head. You have to crash the net. You have to get in the house. And I don't think they have the lineup to do that.
when you look down the other end, and here's the thing: I said the other episode, last episode, I think. Why does Carolina keep trusting Freddie Anderson? Statistically, he's had a good playoffs. That's really not what I meant. He is not what you would look at and think of star number one goaltending. Even if he is your number one goaltending and he's playing well,
you can't rely on him to make the save. That's what it comes down to. At least, I mean, that's how I felt. Like, there's always a chance it's going to squeak through him.
If they win this series, I might change my opinion and my take on that, because it is going to come down to goaltending. The series is going to be very fast. Florida is going to match Carolina's physicality, bar none. It's going to be bang, 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 boom, 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 up and down, up and down, up and down, 3 for 3 for 3. 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. How you like that fucking math? Sylvan Learning Center, suck me.
About time you get some math right.
I mean, this is a really, really fun series. And if Anderson is gonna consistently get peppered, which he is, and Florida is gonna crash the net all game for 60 fucking minutes, is he mentally strong enough to keep up and handle that kind
I don't
of pressure?
think so.
That's
I don't believe so. We'll do it in another episode probably with a preview, but yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the key. Now, we might as well stay on the goaltending. Holy fuck. Vegas and Edmonton's goaltending is dog shit.
Goaltending optional.
It is listen to this. Listen to this. Here are the scores of the 5 games. 6-4, 5-1, 5-1, 4-1, 4-3. 35 goals between two teams in 5 fucking games.
But say those again.
6-4, 5-1, 5-1, 4-1, 4-3.
Oh
35
God.
goals between two teams in 5 games.
Absolute gong show in the net. That's just bad. Stop a puck. You have one job.
Now, hold on. Speaking of math, how does this work out? Can you explain this to me? Because I think I am doing it wrong, but I did it 10 times, like literally 10 times, and I used a calculator for one of them. It's 35 goals between two teams in 5 games. Vegas is up 3-2 in the series, but they each have 17 goals.
Yeah, that checks out. Just a matter of who scores more which game.
It just sounds weird when you add it up and one team is winning the series, but they have the same amount of goals. You're like, wait a second.
But it checks out because that is
it's a weird way to do math.
View of the series that nobody can grab a hold of it. It's just been back and forth. And it doesn't seem like either team really wants to win it.
Yeah, or I'm bad at math and I'm missing a goal.
Could be that too.
It's 18-17. But which could be that, and I need.
Okay, so here's my one gripe in this series.
I'll look into that.
It's been the entire time, and I think it's the ESPN commentators calling them the VGK. I don't know if you've heard this. It's driving me bonkers. They are the Vegas Golden Knights or the Knights. They are not the VGK.
I write VGK on my notes.
Yes.
Just the acronym.
I do too, but I'm not going to say it in a sentence.
I write CAR versus NJ. They actually say that
multiple times. The VGK.
Like the VGK are
going on the power
3-2 going into the second period.
Yes, it's driving
me
they fucking nuts. Don't. Listen for it.
I've never heard that.
Tomorrow night.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
I guarantee you they'll say it. It's been driving me nuts.
I don't want to listen. I will throw my fucking remote through the TV if I hear them say the VGK are going on the power play. It sounds like a STD.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Stitchy. God.
McDavid went into the corner and came out with a VGK. I mean, he needs penicillin. I mean, what's going on here? What are we doing?
Can we talk about just the whack job that Pietrangelo did on Draisaitl? Oh,
yeah, we might.
I just don't understand how he gets one game. He literally went and tried to break the man's wrist.
If he That's because that's how the NHL is. That's how the NHL player safety department judges suspensions. They judge it based on injury. I'm noticing
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean,
If there is
if
no
Draisaitl wasn't
injury,
such a
if there's
man
no
and he actually
injury,
hurt his wrist or went down the tunnel, yeah, he probably gets 2 games. But I don't.
because let's go back. And I'm beating a dead horse, but let's go back to the Dumba hit on Pavelski. Right, there have been instances where there has been a missed call and the NHL does go back and review it and suspend a player, even though they may have not gotten a penalty
Mm-hmm.
in said game, right? The injury to Pavelski was because of the ice, not the dumb, but not the hit,
Yeah.
right? So no suspension. The Pietrangelo slash didn't actually injure, right, Draisaitl,
Mm-hmm.
but when your best player and the face of your league comes out and says you have to suspend the guy, they give him 1 game. I don't think they wanted to even give him a game based on there was no injury. Now, if he broke Draisaitl's wrist, it's an automatic 3 games. I guarantee it.
Oh yeah. I mean, he got a major, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. He
He
got a
did get a
major. And he got the.
major, so I mean, I think at that point they would have suspended him. It drives me nuts that the nurse and his suspension are the same thing. When nurse, all he did was start a fight in the last 5 minutes.
So yeah. So that's what I'm saying, right? If Dumba hits Pavelski, right, and Pavelski doesn't hit his head on the ice, but gets concussed the way he got concussed, and they only give Dumba the penalty they give him, and it ends up being actually a 2-minute power play for
Mm-hmm.
Minnesota after Domi got the 10-minute misconduct, right? I think the NHL does suspend Dumba for that
Yeah.
because he was injured on the actual hit, right? And again, I think the only reason Petro was suspended was because McDavid was basically told the NHL to suspend him, right? And I think if he would
I
have
think they
broken
would
his
have
wrist, it
suspended
would
him
have been much
I think
more.
they would have suspended him either way. I think they had to.
But
It
then
was it
how
was
is it the
such a
same as Nurse?
non-hockey
Like you
play
said, but like you said, how is it the same as Nurse? Now,
because they're
I
not comparing apples to apples, and I think that's what we are doing, and that's
well, and
probably where we're having an issue.
the nurse is a built-in rule, right? It's
Yeah.
it's it's in the rule book that says if you instigate a fight with under a minute left, it's an automatic 1 game suspension. But that is where the NHL player safety has to weigh their options and give Pietrangelo 2 games. It
Mm-hmm.
can't be the same. No matter set rules or no set rules, those 2 plays, starting a fight in the third period after your number 1 or number 2 1A and 1B player almost got his wrist taken off. That's what should have happened.
Mm-hmm. And I wonder if they look, and I don't, I mean, there's probably a way to look at this, but I wonder if they try to take those things out of the out of consideration when they're in the, if they just look at the slash for the slash and they just look at, and they don't look at what it transpired into or what it was. And they just say, okay, if this slash happened in the first period with 5 minutes into the game, it's a game no matter what, regardless of what Nurse does. So I don't know if they can look at it holistically or how they have to judge the situation, but I think it's
The other
stupid.
part, the other part is, I thought I knew what is like. I feel like over the years, especially in our own personal group chat, like we've been very good at kind of guessing suspensions,
Yeah.
right? But I'm sure there's people listening to this right now, whether they're driving in their car or at work or it's Stu with his headphones in mowing a
Yeah, the
fucking
10
lawn.
people listening have
I
an opinion too.
I but and I'm sure when they listen to me explain how I feel about them making assumptions based on injuries, they're probably banging their head against something because I fucking sound like an idiot. But I want to be clear, that's not my fault. The NHL has done this to me. They have twisted and warped my mind to not know what is a suspension, how long a suspension is going to be, the difference between this suspension and that suspension. It is not my fault for sounding like a complete fucking idiot when I talk about this. They have done this to me.
Yeah, and how about Draisaitl just being too much of a man to even break on that slash? He doesn't even take a shift off. He's just like too.
Yeah,
He's like, no, I'm good. I'm too German.
yeah, that's the definition of like he's like that's like Joe Cool. Like he just was like, oh okay, that
Yeah,
happened, and he just like skated away. Like what the fuck? Why
yeah.
did he do
What did
that?
I do?
Like he it was just yeah he was more confused. Like what did I do to you, man? Like what happened there? But that's all I'll say on that. I sound like an idiot talking about it because of the NHL. It's not my
Mm-hmm.
fault. It is not my fault. I have not been force fed my medication. They are force feeding me something completely different, and it's fucking my mind up.
Yep.
I got no clue. The other thing I have no clue about is why the Stars can't play a second period. It's the first period, and I disagree with Weeksy. He he said something about like when I was listening to the intermission of after the second period, he said the Stars have been slow all game. That's false. The first period was very even, and we were just as fast as they were, and we didn't have as many shots, but we had opportunities, and we had odd man rushes, and we had turnovers, and we had in zone rushes, and we got stuff set up. But the second period, we were asleep, and you cannot go to sleep for not even 5 minutes against the Seattle team, let alone a whole fucking period, or they do exactly what they did tonight and they whoop your ass. I mean, it's just that's the bottom. We are the better team, I think, top to bottom, and I think we prove that in our wins. But I think we prove in our losses that when you take a minute off in this series, you fuck
The
yourself.
thing with Seattle is they're 4 second lines. So it's like you never get a shift off. Like you said, if you're not coming with them, they're gonna keep going and they're gonna put the puck in the back of the net because they don't let off the gas and they don't have a line to let off the gas.
Yeah, they have one speed and it's fast and it's all of their lines and all of the other thing is the Stars. I will say this on record. The Stars defense to me is what will be their Achilles heel for not winning a cup
They're a
this year.
little too
It's
offensive. I don't think they get
they
home or get to the house enough.
if you look at it, they have three
Mm-hmm.
defensemen. They have Heiskanen, they have Thomas Harley, and they have Suter. Those are the only three. Hakanpää is just like Justin Hull. He's a waste of fucking space. He doesn't do anything, and when he does, he's a fake hitter. Oh, I'm just gonna lean on you and put
Mm-hmm.
my fucking weight on you. He's a big old pussy. I would fight fucking Hakanpää. Like I'm not. I wouldn't even be scared to do it because like that's how soft he is. Joel Hanley is an AHL player. That is why he is in the AHL for half of the season every fucking year. And Colin Miller, I think, is good, but I think he's only good when they play him consistently and he's in and out
Yeah,
of the lineup. And when he's in and out of the lineup, he's got no confidence. They have three defensemen. I'm being real. They have three defensemen.
that's
That
not gonna do
we
it.
talk
Yeah,
about.
I mean they might get
No,
through this round, but it's not gonna win them a cup.
they have a Stanley Cup winning forward four lines. They really do. They're really built like Colorado
And a
was built
goalie that
last
can
year.
get
When you
hot and could take them to the final too.
Jason Robertson is their McKinnon. Rupe Hintz is Jamie Benn is their Landeskog. Rupe Hintz is their Rantanen. Max Domi is their Comfer. Like Heiskanen is their Makar. They're very
Yeah,
very similar, except for they have about half as many D and are about half as deep on defense
yeah, they
as
don't have the
Colorado was.
Mason that came
I
in.
would even say they have better goaltending.
Mm-hmm. I would too.
So that's gonna be key. I do have confidence though because I like the way we play at home. I like it going back to Dallas.
Yeah,
And I like
I think Seattle. I mean, talk about a bad take by someone that we know is calling us Seattle fans quiet, but I think that's probably one of the louder buildings in the playoffs right now. So I think them getting back out of Seattle and going home, I think that gives them the advantage for sure on this one.
I yeah, and I think this is where home ice advantage plays a big factor in the final standings going
Yeah.
into playoffs because I think if Dallas is going back to 7, I think Seattle wins Game 6 no matter what. Because if they played this way at home, they would have done the same thing in the second period at the
Mm-hmm.
AAC. So I think going back to 7 in Seattle is a much worse situation. Is now that building is completely alive. And I respect the decision by DeBoer to pull Ottinger and just say, hey, maybe we get a miraculous comeback, but if we don't, just fucking mental reset,
And he's been
we
really
need
good
you
on
for game
bounce back
7.
games. So I think if
Yeah,
I don't know, it's kind of a weird instance of like, you did kind of feel like he was packing it in at that point, and you're just kind of resetting of like, okay, we need to get this guy's headspace straight. We don't want Seattle to pop in 4 more goals on him, and he's going to be out of it. Just go sit down there, put your head in your hands, and you'll be ready in 2 nights or whatever. So that part kind of felt weird because
yeah,
it was
he's
early.
yeah, but again, Ottinger is LeVar Ball coming off of losses. He never lost.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
had never
he
lost.
said he's idolized Vasilevsky, who, until this playoffs had really never lost back-to-back games. So who knows?
That's it's funny you say that. Those they are very
Mm-hmm.
similar in their styles of play. Very
Yeah.
similar in their styles of play. You can tell he's kind of modeled his game. That makes a whole lot of sense. So we'll see. I can sit here confidently, regardless of the score tonight and the way it finished and the way it ended up. I can sit here confidently that say I do think we're going to win Game 7, and I can sit here confidently and say if we win Game 7, when we win Game 7, Vegas and Edmonton are fucked if with that goal. I think whoever comes out of this Seattle Dallas series, maybe it is Seattle in the long run. I think whoever comes out goes to the Stanley Cup final because of the goaltending on the other side with those two teams.
I think Dallas probably can run through the other teams. I don't think Seattle can, but I do think Dallas takes Game 7. I think going on the road is probably a little too much for Seattle, but I think even if they do lose, I think Seattle can kind of hang their hats high and say it was a successful season to get to the second round when no one even picked them to make the playoffs. So even if they do lose, they can be happy with what they did, and I think they're in a pretty good situation moving forward with their franchise. So either way,
Both
yeah.
teams, both teams. Whoever loses, and whoever loses, whoever wins, whoever goes on and loses, whatever the case is, whoever wins the Stanley Cup, if one of them wins the Stanley Cup, it's very bright futures for both teams. So it's really just like how can you learn and what do you take out of the loss? Like that's really what it would come down to
Yeah.
for next season for whatever team doesn't win this series. But that that's where we'll end it. That's where we're in it now. Hey, listeners, stay with Mikey. Mikey's
Wow,
throwing out some duds. He threw out some.
Mikey.
Listen, stay with him though. I mean that's the gambling game, right? It takes a lot of balls to put picks out
Can
there.
we say that he has
baby
brain? Is that a thing when it's a dad?
He's won though. But he's been winning though. He's back. He's kind of back on track. And here's the thing: for the losers that he gave out, when somebody like him who does the volume and the units that he does, when they get hot, they get hot. So when he gives out the picks, stay with him, okay? Stay with him because when he gets hot, you want to get hot, and then everybody rides, all right? Obviously, gamble responsibly, but that's it. That's the Flowscape podcast. We will catch you later this week with some more round 2 updates. We have some more teams looking to move on, some Game 7s coming at you. A big game tomorrow between Edmonton and Vegas. We will catch you next time.